Swallow this.
Welcome to or welcome back to the channel. This is That Review Guy, and today I'm going to be talking about the greatest comic book ever made, aka... In the beginning of 2003, Robert Kirkman set out to create his own superhero universe. He did just that. With the help of Image Comics, he published 144 issues of Invincible from 2003 to 2018. Invincible is the story of a teenager inheriting powers from his father and becoming a superhero, along with dealing with the problems of his daily teenage life. The comic gained traction fast and gained massive popularity due to how greatly written the characters were and how similar yet different the story was compared to other comics like DC and Marvel. Speaking of which, the Invincible comics eventually gained enough popularity to the point where routine issue releases could sustain themselves against DC and Marvel's sales with their comic releases, even though Invincible is less known overall and is made by a less funded publisher. Its popularity also allowed an animated show to be created on Prime Video that was massively successful right away when it was released, and is going on strong with a third season that should be coming out sometime in the next year. Multiple stars of the show are also in The Walking Dead, which is a zombie show based off of the comic, also created by Robert Kirkman. Getting back to Invincible though, the characters are all just so well written and unique, even though some are similar to other characters from other comics, like the main character, Mark Grayson, who is Invincible, can fly and is very strong, kind of similar to Superman, but he's the age and has the charisma of Spider-Man. His suits, although pretty basic, are very cool, and Mark Grayson as a character just overall is very complex, and he goes through a lot of traumatizing things that he grows from over the course of the comics. And I think that by the end of the series, when I finished reading it, I would say he's tied with Spider-Man for my favorite superhero ever. Each character has their own arc across the series, and each one is very well done and really invests you into their story and who these characters are on a deep level. Since there's 144 issues spreading across 3,000 pages, there's a ton of characters leading to a ton of arcs, and each one is great in their own way. Speaking of something that there's a lot of, violence and gore. There's a lot of it. So this is definitely a series that's not for the squeamish, but if you don't mind, it's pretty awesome when it does happen, and it's really well drawn. Most of the gore in the series is due to the multiple villains just beating the hell out of all of the heroes, and all of the villains are all just so damn good. Every single one is just incredible, and they're all different from each other. No one feels like a rehash of a previous one, and each one has just such a terrifying presence that makes each one of their appearances so unsettling, because knowing Invincible and how it isn't scared to just kill off a character at any time or do something insane, you never know what these villains are going to do, and that is what makes them so terrifying. And every single one is well written, just like all of the heroes. I liked every single one, and they're just all incredible villains. And that's not something that you see in things like Marvel or DC. Recently, they've fallen off for the most part in their villains, and just things in general, media in general with villains just kind of suck for the most part. But every single villain in Invincible is incredible. There are so many iconic moments that stand out in this comic that just makes it really hard to think about one or associate the comic with just one moment when there are just so many. And that's why Robert Kirkman is the GOAT. 144 issues, 15 years, 3,000 pages, and yet he managed to keep making iconic crazy moment after crazy moment after crazy moment, and they were just all just as shocking and incredible as the one before. I decided to start reading the comics after I had finished the show. I originally watched season 1 when it came out, and I loved it, but I only decided to start reading the comics a few months ago after season 2, and I am so glad I did. I bought the first compendium and loved it, then I bought the second one and finished that quickly, and then I did the same thing with the third one, which is the last one. This is the greatest thing I've ever read, from the incredible characters to gloriously drawn panels to the violence to the crazy shit and everything in between. I could rave about this comic for hours, and that's why I truly and strongly believe that the greatest comic series ever made is